Thank you so much, Georgina. Thank you so much. So when Stacy invited me to come and be here with you guys, I started thinking about energy. And I looked up my favorite quote, which is Einstein's quote that says, "Energy can never be created or destroyed." We all know that, right? You guys were taught that. By the way, after Deb Fine's session last night, I realized that I am not an engineer, so when I say something about electricity or energy that's not right, just somebody correct me. Because I did my research, but I'm not an engineer. I was a fashion person. So the quote is that energy can never be created or destroyed. It can only be transformed from one form to another. Yes? This program is about communication. What I believe is that communication is energy transference from an idea that you have to someone else. So I want you to reframe communication as opposed to just words that are going from you to the people that you're with or you work with to what energy am I transferring, what am I transforming, and what do I want it to transfer it back to when it comes back to me. Right? We'll give out an idea, and the idea will come back in the form of an action, which is just a transference of energy. Now, as human beings, we have 3 levels of who we are as human beings. We are biological, linguistic, and transactional. It's a new way of looking at us as humans. Okay? So what we're going to be talking about here is the first layer of being human, which is the biology. Now, Colette touched on it a teeny bit this morning on the differences between men and women, but we're really going to go into that. But the fact is that as human beings, we are biological, meaning that everything that happens for us happens in our bodies first. For example, if you did not take the chance to use the restroom and go pee, if you have to pee, you can't hear what I'm saying. Because is that not true? Like if you're hungry or you have a biological need, it is going to superimpose everything else that's going on in your world. So everything we're going to be talking about this morning really touches on how our biology is triggered. Now, the other 2 pieces of being human, we're biological, we're then linguistic. The language that we use, nothing has ever been formed or created on this planet by human beings without it first being languaged. Think about it. Somebody has an idea, and in order to transform the energy of that idea into it being an action, it needs to be languaged in a way that somebody else can hear it. So what we're going to do today, this morning, is we're going to actually look at how are we using our words to get the people that we're communicating with to take action on them. Okay? Thirdly, we are transactional, meaning that nobody does this alone. We're under this illusion, and for those of us women who were brought up in the 70s, the feminist movement, that would be me and some of you, that we were told that we could have, do, or be anything that men can do, and we can do it by ourselves. Human beings are transactional. Nobody does anything alone. Even those people who go out and live in the wilderness by themselves, okay, they had to get the wood or the tools from somewhere, right? They bought their seeds. If you're going to grow your own garden, you think you're doing it alone, but you probably bought your seeds. You transacted to get it from somewhere. So what we're going to talk about is how is your biology being triggered by every interaction that you have? And then what language are you using to get the most effective result from what you're communicating? And then who are you communicating with? Now, since we are transacting and since we are transforming energy, I want to give you guys a way to connect with me. And I'm doing this for a couple of reasons. First of all, for those of you who are into technology and want to be able to connect with people, I found the coolest new app. It's called Kiwi Live. I invite you, first of all, to use your smartphones during this program. I invite you, if you want to Twitter about this or you want to take notes and you're a technology person, feel free. I'd rather you not answer a call during the program. But if you want to, connect on your smartphone, go to kiwilive.com and it'll say what's the keyword you're looking for. My keyword for my Kiwi Live is Carolyn. The reason I'm telling you that is one of the things as women, and Colette touched on this morning, that we don't do is we don't take care of ourselves first. We do not. one of the most effective ways to actually get back in touch with who we are and what we need so that we can transform what we want to other people and transact with other people is to meditate. And I know this is going to sound a little woo-woo for those of you who've never meditated, but I created a meditation CD several years ago. And I am giving every one of you guys a copy of the CD. Thank you. It's my gift to you because I really believe in it. So at the end of the program, when you turn in your yellow sheet to Mindy in the back, you will get a CD. However, some of us don't have CD players anymore, right? When you go to Kiwi Live, right now we're at the end of this program, and I'll remind you guys of that, and type in the keyword Carolyn, you will get a quick little email that says, here are the things that are available from Carolyn, and there is a free download of the meditation CD that way as well. Because it's really important to me to be at a conference of women. By the way, I started my business speaking to women. I started in the fashion industry. I was a plus-size model, as Georgina mentioned, for 20 years in New York City. I was with a Ford modeling agency, and then I started a clothing company. I created an exercise video, and then I started a clothing company. So if any of you watch the Home Shopping Network, yes, you might have seen me there for the past 17 years I've been there. But what I loved is I did fashion shows for women all that time for department stores. And what I realized was it was the 10 minutes before the models came out in the clothing where I actually got to talk to women about how you present yourself that mattered to me. So what I've done is I've transformed that business into actually not only how you present yourself in how you dress, which we can do, next year's conference if you want to do a program on that. And by the way, yes, these pants are for you guys. They were the most energetic pants I had ever seen in my life. So I got them and I decided to wear them for you. But now it's about talking about how do we communicate in a way where we get our needs met. Wouldn't it be nice if everybody you spoke to actually heard you? And by the way, this started for me when I was 15 years old. I had a conversation with my mom, and I said, well, somebody said no to me. And she said, what did you do? I said, well, Mom, no is just somebody not understanding my point of view. So when you get a no for a request that you're making, see if you're languaging it in a way where they figure out that they win from it. Okay? So to get into the program now, here is my disclaimer. This conversation that we are about to have is completely politically incorrect. Yeah, we are about to have a conversation where I'm going to talk about the differences between men and women. Now, if this were 10 years ago, I could be, shot for having this conversation. But the beautiful thing is that new research has come out that men and women are biologically different. All right? Our brains are completely different. So when I'm talking about this, remember I said we're biological first, primarily? What I'm talking about is the biology. I'm talking about the instinct. So if I say something, or when I say something that either ticks you off, because when I first learned this, I got really upset, because like I said, I'm a child of the 70s. I'm a young woman of the 70s where I was taught I could do anything that men and women could do, and better and stronger and faster and everything. Now, when I say something that ticks you off, check your biology and see if it's true on a biological level. Okay? So the disclaimer is this is completely politically incorrect, and we're going to go there anyway because it's really important to know. So let's talk about the basic operating system in human beings. Okay? It's literally the men's operating system and the women's operating system are so different that it's sort of like how an iPhone and an Android, you can get to the web on both, but the way that you get there, the basic operating system, is completely different. Okay? So, boys and girls, the conversation about how men and women are different used to be only anecdotal. It used to be just stories about looking at men and looking at women. And by the way, the books that are the best books on this, Colette referred to Deborah Tannen's work, which is excellent. There is a book called The Male Brain and a book called The Female Brain. They are both written by Dr. Lou-Anne Brizendine. Have you heard of her? Have you read them? Did it not change everything about the way you communicate? It completely changed it, right? Isn't it incredible? Especially, by the way, if you have children. If you have small children or teenage children, if you learn that the little boy's brain is actually marinated in testosterone from the time he is conceived until he dies. No, until, until he's born, and then it slows down, and then it comes back again when he's a teenager. By the way, anybody here have teenage boys? Do you know that they literally cannot biologically hear your voice? Did you know that? It's not that they're not listening to you, it's literally that their brains are so marinated in testosterone that they can't hear the tone of their mother's voice. So instead of getting frustrated about telling them to clean their room, just do it till they hear you. Don't start yelling, don't bring the tone up, just keep saying, you know, it's time to clean your room. It's time to clean sooner or later, the message will get through. Little girls' brains are marinated in estrogen, which teaches us how to connect and how to emote. There are big studies about how baby boys look around the room. Have you ever held a baby boy recently, guys? Do you notice how they look around the room, but they don't do a whole lot of contact and looking? And little girls, baby girls, spend a lot of time looking at our faces, right, to see what kind of reaction they're getting. That's still who we are as women. We don't grow out of that. We're still looking around, engaging how the other people around us are feeling and looking, and do they approve of us? Yes? So understand that this is now not just a conversation of anecdotal, of cave person stuff, but this is now scientifically proven. However, this may be the 21st century. We may be in the 2010s, right? However, our brains have not evolved very much past 10,000 years ago. Literally, our brains, so that whole cave person, that whole instinct thing that women were designed, let me show you. Let's see, there we go. When we started the conversation back on a lot of us were born, or maybe before we were born, this is the paradigm we lived in. The mom stayed home, we as women stayed home and took care of the family, which, by the way, I think when God designed this whole human race, I think she had a plan, right? I think that she had an idea that, since we were biologically going to birth the children, that we would be more instinctually willing to take care of them, okay? And that men were born to go out and provide and protect. They were going to hunt and they were going to bring back the stuff. That is still that paradigm. We were living in that only 50, 60 years ago. The instinct of that has been in place for 10,000 years. However, the program that we are all living in now is the program of men and women can do the same things and take care of the same jobs. We absolutely can, but we're going to come at it differently. But understand that the program has only been in place for about 60 years, and I got to tell you, men aren't as apt to adapting to the new program as the women are. So they're having a little bit of an issue coming to terms with who we are and how we are in the workplace. Have you guys found that? Because I understand that the energy industry where you work is a very male-dominated industry. Is that true for most of your companies? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to get the best out of them. Okay. More examples. When we went up 20 years, and then we had a working couple, both of whom were very accomplished in their own way, yet she still took a back seat a little bit to his career. Oh, sorry. We now move on to where we are now. By the way, has anybody seen Maleficent yet? Oh, see it. Oh my gosh. Okay, sorry, I saw it on Friday. It was ridiculously good. But here we are. This is what we're living in now, right? This is the program that we're hoping to live in now, where both of us are successful and we're all out working and we're all out doing our thing, and yet there's a balance at home. That becomes a negotiation. Okay. So let's talk about the biology. Let's talk about what happens when men and women listen. So men. Every time a man is listening to a conversation, he's listening with an underlying thing. You know what he's listening with? There are two questions. What's the point? Men are always only listening with what's the point. Okay, and by the way, you guys have a handout, a postcard that I created for you that has all of the points here on the front and a space for notes on the back. So feel free to take this, use it, draw on it, bring it back to your office, share it with the men in your world. That'll be fun for them. Okay, so men listen with what's the point, okay? Then, unless there's upset coming at them, if there's upset in the conversation, they're going to listen with, what's the problem? How do I fix it? Not two separate thoughts. What's the problem? How do I fix it is one idea, which is why when we bring them something that's upsetting to us, they stop us in the middle of what we're saying and they go straight to, okay, how do I fix this? And we don't want them to fix it. We just want them to listen. Okay? But they're going to listen with what's the point, what's the problem, how do I fix this? Okay? Then also, men are only always working to create a result. Remember, this is in biology, this is an instinct. So when you bring them something or come to them for something, they're already 3 steps ahead of where you are creating the result that's not the result that we're looking for. So when you communicate with them, you want to say to them, hey, the point of what I'm saying is, we need ABC wire to connect with XYZ wire, okay? Here's the background of that. If you tell them what they're listening for, they then actually pay attention to you, okay? Women, on the other hand, do not listen. We do not, in our biology, in our instinct. We do not listen with what's the point, what's the problem, how do I fix it? Do you know what we listen with? Anybody know what we listen with? This is the biological part. We listen with, what does this have to do with me? Now, I know that some of us are going, that's not true, that's not how I am, but on instinct, think about it. Because in cave person days, when something was happening with one of our neighbors or something was happening with somebody in a cave next to us, we needed to know if there's a tiger in the community, we need to know where is it, and how are my children, how is my family affected? Okay? We need to know what's going on with our neighbors because if somebody eats a poison berry, we need to know where the poison berries were and that our kids will stay away from that. So women, listen with, what does this have to do with me? How does this affect my world? And who do I know who's affected? Now, this is why watching the news with men and women watching the news is a completely different conversation. Men watch the news and let's say that there's a story about a lost dog. Okay, a puppy who got lost, right? Men listen to it, okay, what's the point? There's a lost dog. What's the problem? There's a lost dog, and can I fix it? Nope, it's not my dog, I can't fix it. They look at it and move on. When we hear a story about a lost dog, what happens? Oh, exactly, we make the female, oh, isn't that sweet sound? Or oh, how upsetting sound. The oh, that's a different oh that she didn't get to this morning. The oh, okay, so, and it's oh, because there's a lost dog. What about that family? What about the kids in that family? What if it was our dog? We have a dog. What are we going to do to protect our dog, right? So it's a completely different thing. So understand that when you're hearing things, you're actually listening to it, women, with what does this have to do with me? I'm pointing this out because once you understand instinct, we can overcome it. Most of what's coming at us has nothing to do with us. Do not take things personally when they're coming at you. You're going to want to, your biology's going to want to, but you don't have to do that, okay? In your personal life, so what men want to do, so you can tell this to the men in your world, what men want to do is they want to start out by saying something that has something to do with us, right? So if a man's going to tell you something, he can say, you know what, you're fine, your department's doing great. What if somebody you worked with, what if, let's say, one of the managers that you work with came to you and said, you know what, your department's doing great, but we have a problem with this and this and this. Wouldn't that be a different experience for you as opposed to them coming in and saying, we have a problem with this and this and this? Where does your brain go? Straight to, what is my team going to do? What's my department going to do? How are we going to fix this? Right? Okay. Women, what you want to say to the men that you're talking to at work, you can say, you know what, there's no problem. I just want to run this by you because I want to get your feedback. Okay? If you tell a man that there's no problem, there's nothing for him to fix, he actually can pay attention because it takes the calories that he would have spent figuring out what the point is or what the problem is out of the equation, so he can actually listen to you. Okay? All right. Men and women see completely differently as well. Men are designed to hunt and provide. In order to do that, imagine a light coming out of a man's head, okay? And imagine that light is a laser beam, okay? It's a laser beam. If you're in a dark room and there's a laser beam, what happens outside the laser beam? Nothing, right? It's complete darkness. Men are always only laser focused on creating one result at a time. This comes from cave person days where they were hunters. Yes? And they were hunting, and they had to hunt the deer. So they were required to go out, they saw a deer, hunt the deer, spot the deer, see the deer. Can you imagine if they were hunting the deer, spot the deer, see the deer? Oh, what a pretty flower. Where's the deer at that point? The deer is gone and everybody dies. By the way, the outcome of not following instinct is death. Okay? Our biological response is if they don't do it this way, if women don't do it the way we do it, and men don't do it the way men do it, what will happen is we will die. We will die off as a species. So men are completely laser focused and only looking for one result at a time. Okay? Which is why, so I'm not saying men can only do one thing at a time. They can do many things as long as it's creating one result. Look at a man who's coaching his kid's soccer game. Anybody have a man in their world who does that, right? Think about it. So what they're doing is they're looking at the defense and the offense and where the ball is and who they're putting in and who they're putting out and what the plays are and all of that. And they are completely laser focused on that. What happens when somebody comes over and starts talking to them about dinner? Okay, they don't hear it. They literally hear Charlie Brown's teacher. They hear want, right? They literally don't hear us. It's the same when they're watching sports. One of my favorite things to learn as a woman was if a man is watching television and ignoring me, he's not doing both. He's only watching television. You are not being ignored. They are only working on creating one result at a time. Okay? So what you have to do is you have to get their attention. And by getting their attention, you want to do something like walk in and say, is this a good time? All right? And they'll say yes or no. By the way, men actually say what they mean because they get to the point. So if you say, is this a good time? And they say no, you say, okay, when will be? All right? Get their attention, but don't walk in and just start talking because they won't hear you. They hear Charlie Brown's teacher. Okay. Women, on the other hand, do not have laser focus. We have the same strength light coming out of our head, thank you very much, but instead of it being a laser beam, it's a halogen lamp. What does a halogen lamp do? It lights up the entire space. Think about it from cave person days. We needed to know where the babies were, where the hunter was, where the fire was, where the wood was, where the fresh berries were, where the not fresh berries were. Right? Where the poisonous berries were, where the neighbors were, where the tigers were, where the danger was. We have awareness of absolutely everything going on around us. By the way, men think that we are completely scattered. Okay? Let me ask you guys something. Ladies, let me ask you ladies something. How hard is it for you to do only one thing at a time? Very. Is it not? That is because of your biology. That is because we have halogen awareness and our environment calls to us. Our environment talks to us and tells us what's going on in it, so we need to pay attention to all of it at once. Did you know that men have a very hard time multitasking? Have you noticed that? Have you ever had a guy, my guy, Sam, he was going to fix the garage, and he was on task to fix my garage door. And he came over and he was fixing the garage, and one of the parts that we had wasn't right, so he stopped, went to Home Depot, got another part, came back and went back to fixing the garage door. I'm thinking, hey, on the way to Home Depot, will you stop at the pet store and get some puppy food? And then, while you're on the way back, would you pick up some ice cream? Because I'd really love to, have some ice cream. It's a nice sunny Saturday afternoon. He's like, no, I'm going to the hardware store. So he goes to Home Depot, he comes back with the piece. He then spends the next 2 hours. Now the puppy's not fed and I want ice cream, right? And he has spent the next 2 hours fixing the garage. And then when he was done, he was like, okay, good. And I was like, how did you do that? It's because men are always only working to create one result at a time. So think about what the men that you work with are doing. What result are they working on creating at the time, and help them get through it, or show them what the next, after the garage door is done, show them what the next project is to do. Do not do what we women do. I could come into you and Sandy, right? Sandy, I could come up to Sandy and I could say, Sandy, so here's what we're going to do today. We're going to do this project in the morning, and then we're going to have our meeting, right, with the team, and then in the afternoon we're going to do this, and then at 3:30 you and I are going to meet and we're going to discuss what the agenda for tomorrow morning. Sound good? Good, got it, right? You say that to a man, all he heard was, we're going to go and have this, we're going to work on this project in the morning, wah, 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 and he heard nothing after that because they can't, all right? Give them one project, one task to complete at a time. They are incredible when we let them do their one thing, okay? And then let them know what the next thing will be to do. And for us, look, multitasking, getting everything done on your to-do list is really hard for us women, because you just saw with Colette's demonstration how many things are piled up on us. Here's the thing, acknowledge that we have the halogen awareness, acknowledge that everything around us is going to pull our attention, and then say, okay, what's the one thing? There's a book called The One Thing, it's excellent. What's the one thing I can do right now to make the rest of my day easier? And when you frame it that way in the mornings. Anybody do priority lists in the morning? Okay, excellent. And do you do, what's the one thing I can get done that makes the rest of the day smoother? And tackle that first thing in the morning, because as women, the other stuff is going to come up. It's why, by the way, men, on average, the new statistic is for a 2-parent household with children where both parents work full-time out of the house. Do you know that right now men work 64 hours a week, including the homework and that work? Women are working 84 hours a week doing all of those things that Colette demonstrated. And part of it's because we can. Because we can multitask, because we can be pulled by everything in our environment. But the most important thing in this, ladies, is to take care of ourselves, because if we're not well, nobody else around us gets what they need. Okay? All right. So, here's one thing that women can do. Men do it too, and I teach this to men. But for women, do you ever notice when we're sitting at lunch with each other and we really want to make a point, what I'll do is I'll do this? Do you ever notice that we automatically as women will reach over and touch each other? Because what touch does is it takes the halogen lamp and it goes zoom. Do you ever notice that? So if you really want to make a point with someone, especially women to women, we do it all the time, we will actually just reach out and touch our friend or the person we're talking with. I tell men that not necessarily to touch in the workplace. I know that that's politically incorrect and that's a whole nother conversation. But what I tell them is if you want somebody you want to get somebody's attention, touch something near them, right? Because we notice, women definitely notice touch. Women, when you're talking to a man, when something is important, men's needs are immediate and they're important. Do you ever notice that if a man comes home and he says he's hungry and you say dinner's going to be, I'm pulling dinner out of the freezer, because by the way, I learned a long time ago that you don't have to make food, you just have to make it happen. Yeah, that's my life. So, because I don't cook. So, if you're going to make it happen, you'll say, you know what, it'll be, you can go grab it and it'll be home in 10 minutes. What's he going to do first? Go to the refrigerator and get something to eat because his needs are immediate. By the way, women, how long can we hold it before we have to pee if somebody else needs something? I did a training for OBGYN residents, and the women residents would go 14 hours before taking a break to go pee. The men residents, I would say, how long do you wait? They'd say, I go when I have to go. It was amazing to me. So we will take our needs and subjugate them to other people's. Men will not do that. So when you say to a man, this is important or I need something, when you actually do, you will get it done immediately. The word need lands for them in a different part of their brain than it does for us. Okay, so that's just one of the little communication strategies that you can actually use. The other thing that you can do with men, and this is so against who I was as a feminist growing up, but it totally lands, is men are designed to provide and protect, but they're designed to provide for us, and this is all men on a biological level, are designed to provide help. So what you want to say to a man who's being really difficult, anybody have men that they work with who are kind of difficult? And you go in to talk to them and they just, talk to the hand, right? What you want to say is, you know what, hey, Joe, I've got this project I'm working on. I need your help for a minute. Do you know that will stop them in their tracks? Anybody tried that? Does it work? It totally works. Now, this is not manipulative. This is talking in a language. What I'm trying to do is create peace and partnership. My object is that everybody gets what they need, everybody gets what they want, and everybody wins, right? I want us to not be exhausted. I want us to not have our adrenal glands completely exhausted at the end of the day. By the way, competition, let me go there, and I'll get there in a little while, but I want to go there right this second with you guys. Competition. We, as women, are designed to be collaborative and work together. You notice, you've seen the studies of the little girls who, when they get a couple of dolls, will find a way for them to play together, right? And little boys will get a couple of dolls and they'll find a way for them to be at war together, right? They'll create a war. They really do. It just is the way it is. That's our biology. Again, this is all in biology. The challenge is that as women in a male-dominated field, we are very much sometimes in competition mode. Competition to get heard, competition to get our ideas out there, competition to get listened to. Competition comes from testosterone, right? They have it naturally. Men have a factory for it. That's great. Did you know that a man at rest has 10 times more testosterone in his body than we do at full fight mode? 10 times more while he's resting. So for us to get it up to fight like that, we have to get a lot of testosterone in our body. Do you know where in women's bodies testosterone is formed? Do you know what gland in our body where we make testosterone? In our adrenal glands. So if you find yourself in fight mode, and you find yourself in compete mode, because clearly someone's not hearing what you need, the only time you're competing is if you're competing for somebody who's not hearing what you need and their needs are more important. Yes? Is that not true? Think about it. When you're competing for something, it's somebody else's project or somebody else's needs seem more important. So we go into fight mode, we go into compete mode. That comes from our adrenal glands. It's why so many women are completely exhausted at the end of the week. So what I invite us to do as women is the minute we start going into, I have to get this done, and this is more important than that, I want you to stop. I want to invite you to take a breath and say, okay, let me explain to you why this is important to your team, or if you're talking to a group of men, how you can win from this. We'll get into this in 1 second. Okay, here's how men are compelled to act. When they walk into a room, they are instinctively competitive. Walked into a bar with a friend of mine, and there's this really big guy at the bar, and he looks at me, and we walk in, and he looks at me, and he goes, see that guy? I said, yeah. He says, I could take him. I said, where are you taking him? What is that, right? But men on instinct are competitive. They will size up everybody in their team. As women, when we get sized up, it takes 10 times, because we have 10 times less testosterone, 10 times more energy for us to play at the same level. This is on a biological level. I'm not talking in the program, where hopefully most of us are playing now, but on a biological level, if a man is going to pick someone for his team, and it's a man or a woman, biologically, because men are, because of the more testosterone and the bigger physique, stronger, they're going to go for the man. So what we need to do as women is really show up crystal clear as to who we are and what we bring to the table. I want to invite you to say, you know what? You want to choose me for this project because what I can do is. And I want you to pull out the bullet point. This is not being aggressive, like Colette talked about. This is being crystal clear and being able to play in this realm, because they're going to wonder if they can take you, right? Women, on the other hand, we are absolutely aware of everybody around us. And ever notice that another woman on your team, when she's having a bad day, how does that affect you? We can't get our work done if somebody else is having a bad day. Is that not true? Isn't that, I mean, but that's on instinct, right? So I want you to notice that when you're being affected by another woman's biology, because as you saw, so much of what happens to us affects how we show up. I want to invite you to take a breath, say, what do I need in this moment, and go take care of what you need. And how many of you, when I say go take care of what you need first, feel like that's selfish? You hear that and you go, that's selfish. Okay. Men don't see it as selfish, do they? When they take care of what they need first, it is not selfish. They expect us to take care of what we need first. Okay? And other women, what we need to say to the other women that we're dealing with is, you know what? We have important projects that we all need to get done. How can I help you with yours? Here's the help I need with mine. Respect the fact that we have them, but get your work done. How many of you guys stay after 5 o'clock because you didn't get your work done? Are they paying you extra to stay after 5 o'clock? Sometimes they are, okay. Sometimes if they're not, figure out a way to get your needs met during the day and ask for other people to do it, and then get out. Because this is your life, you guys. It's not, I'll do it when. Later is now. You know, if we've learned anything from how life works, it's later is now, right? Okay. There's a little bit of a dark side of this. Men will always be sizing you up. They size up each other and they size us up. Come into the room with a clear energy and intention of what you bring. When you know your game and what game you're playing and what outcome you're looking for, they will respect that. The challenge with most of us is we were taught to be good girls and learn and sit back and wait until we're called on. Don't do it. Show up with your game in mind and know what it is and then ask for help with it. Okay? Women are always statusizing each other. Anybody work where there are other women and it gets kind of catty? And do you know that that's instinct? All that is our biology. Because think about it. In the cave person days, if we were not the sexiest, the best mom, the roundest, the prettiest, the best, then the caveman, this is the part that upset me, by the way, but I just want to share it. The caveman might go find somebody else. So on instinct, we are going to look up and statisize other women. Again, we're not going to overcome this instinct in our generation. What we can do is acknowledge it, understand it, and go, okay, she's got her thing going on, and by the way, my grandmother always used to say, I'd rather take my luggage than somebody else's, because you do not know what's in their luggage, right? You have your stuff, she's got her stuff, but understand that that's... Anybody ever go to the gym and get changed in the locker room? Anybody ever do that? Anybody ever not able to look at the other women in the locker room changing? We have to, right? You have to. It's your instinct that you're going to do that. What I want to do is I want you to look at the other woman and say, wow, she's beautiful, she's talented, and I got this to take care of. Right? How's that for an idea? Okay. Here's the other thing about men. Men will not play a game they don't believe they can win. Men will only play a game they think they can win, which, by the way, explains the game of golf. Okay? They came up with this handicap thing where a good golfer can play with a bad golfer, and because of the handicap, the guy who's not good has the possibility of winning. Really? Really? If they didn't do that, nobody would ever play. So men always only play a game that they can win. Now, the good news, if you're in a personal relationship with a man, let's say you're even married to one, if you are, understand that he married you with knowing everything in his heart, that he could win at the game of making you happy for the rest of your life. Did you know that? When a man commits to marriage, there are 10 hierarchies in what he's looking at, but the most important game he's playing is he believes with all of his heart that he can make you happy. He can win the game of making you happy for the rest of his life. All we have to do is give them the happy, by the way, and they keep doing more and more and more of it. It's what appreciation does. Okay? Appreciation, by the way, for men, takes the have-dos and turns it into the want-tos. That's all it does. So when they do something for you, say thank you and they'll do more of it. It's the lack of the thank yous that they stop doing it. Okay? At work, Find out what game, do you manage a team of men? Some of you guys manage a team of men or work with a team of men. Ask them, what does it look like to win at this project? What do we get when we win? What does it look like for us to win? And when you do that, you can actually give them the support, and they can go out and you guys can all win. Okay? When you're competing with a man, he's going to try to win over you. If you understand what game you're all playing, where you all win, then you move to it together. Very cool. One more thing that you need to know about women. The key to working with women, the key to living with women, the key to raising young women. Women need to be safe. Our most primary biological, it is weird to talk about this stuff, right? Because we're not supposed to talk about this. I mean, we're supposed to be fine and out in the world. Women absolutely have a need to feel safe. When you are hired at your company, you are hired with this range of duties that the person who hired you believed that you could do, right? Is that not true? Like you went through all of the lists and all of the duties that you were going to be responsible for and all the things you were going to be responsible for. How many of those, that huge, broad range of things, are you still doing? Anybody still doing all of it? Anybody? Somebody doing this much? Somebody doing this much? When the economy downturned in 2008 and all of these companies started laying off people, one of the biggest challenges is that people that were hired to do these big jobs, like all of you guys were hired to do these big jobs, our jobs got smaller and smaller and smaller because we couldn't take a risk. Because if we took a risk and we made a mistake, we were no longer safe and we could get fired. Okay? What I want to invite you to do is look around your environment at work and say, how do I feel safe? Or talk to the people that you work with and say, you know what I need? What I need to feel really safe is a conversation about blah. Or for us to stop talking about X. Or for the jokes in the lunchroom to stop happening this way, or whatever it is. Because once you're safe, and once the women that you work with know that they're safe, and know that they feel good, you guys, we can do anything if we're safe. The other thing is you want to use this at home. If you live with people, whether it's your partner, your sweetie, your husband, your kids, find out what it is around your home that gives you any upset, and then ask somebody to fix it so that you feel safe and comfortable, because when women feel safe, we are so expansive because we are natural risk takers. Right? We're also natural problem solvers because women were trained by crying babies. Okay? Men were trained by deer, and it's like, go out, find the deer, hunt the deer, kill the deer, bring it back, we're good. Women, however, were trained by crying babies. What will you try to make a baby stop crying? Everything. How long will you spend until the baby stops crying? As long as it takes, exactly. So women will be great problem solvers as long as we feel like we're safe to do it. Okay? So, any questions, comments? I know that's really the overview. I want to recommend a couple of books besides the Luann Brizendine books. The Male Brain and the Female Brain. Get them. They are life-changing. Is this all the stuff that you read in there? And that's a little bit more practical. Yes? Application. Cool. Okay, there's a website called understandmen.com. Funny name, great website. It's a woman that I studied with for 15 years. I studied with a woman named Alison Armstrong. She runs a company called PAX, which means peace in Latin, about the communication differences between men and women. On her website, there's a place that's called Free Stuff. Listen to some of it. You can get a whole lot more of this. The John Gray stuff, anybody read the Mars and Venus stuff years ago? If you want to pick up one of them, get Mars and Venus on a Date. Mars and Venus on a Date is the one that I feel is probably the most practical and then the easiest to read. And then, of course, like I said, the Luann Brizendine books. And that is that. So while I'm taking questions, if you guys have any questions or comments or how to apply this in your life or in your personal life, you all have a yellow sheet. Remember I said I'm giving everybody a copy of the meditation CD. Please take 5 minutes at least every day and take care of yourselves. But right now, if you guys would take a minute, fill this out. When you drop it off in the back, on the back table with Mindy, you will absolutely get a CD. And did anybody go to Kiwi Live yet? Anybody go to Kiwi Live? Do we have somebody? Mindy, here's the thing. We're going to pick a name from the people who already went to kiwilive.com and who signed up and who got a copy. And you, where did it go? Oh, here it is. Are going to get a copy of the book that I wrote a couple years ago with Deepak Chopra and Billy Blanks. I'm giving one away to the person that we picked. Mindy, who did we get? Trisha Perry. Trisha, thank you for going to Kiwi Live. Thank you for connecting with me. This is your gift. Thank you so much for that. Questions? Talk to me, you guys. Yes, please. Uh-huh.
It seems like we're really reaching out trying to figure out how to speak to men, but do you see any movement from the men trying to reach out and understand the women kind of across the line?
Are men trying to understand us? They're trying. They're trying. Bless their hearts. They're trying. It's interesting because I do this training with CEOs. In fact, tomorrow morning I'm doing a training with 15 CEOs of companies that have a lot of female employees. The CEOs, upsettingly, 15 of them all happen to be men in this group. And so there is some of this work. If you have men in your world that you think would want to communicate better, send them to understandmen.com. Seriously, send them. I know it's going to sound weird, but there is a whole part about men, how to communicate with women. It's really great and effective. But men think that their way is the right way. They think that their way is the right way because it's been done like that for 10,000 years. You know, the program that we're living in, you guys, is new. Just remember that it's new. It's less than 100 years old, my gosh. And this instinct's been in place for 10,000 years. Yeah, I highly recommend Understand Man. Yes?
I find that when you use the phrase, I need your help.
Yep.
I had a boss that she would almost get me.
And the second you said, I need your help, he stopped. Right. Yes. That's right. You can't overuse it. You cannot overuse it. You have to use it when you actually do need their help. If you don't need their help, it's like, you know what, there's something important I want to run by you. When would be a good time? Honestly, because you cannot break the laser. By the way, for them, it is exceptionally painful when someone walks, you know how like when somebody walks into our office, we're working on something, because we have the halogen lamp, can stop, excuse me, we can stop, we can talk to the person we're talking to, and then we can pretty much get back to it. For men, the amount of energy it takes us to focus on the one thing is the same amount of energy it takes them to break away from what they're doing, to look at what we need or want to get back to it. So when you say, hey, I have something important to run by you, when's a good time? It's less of an intrusion, okay, when you're talking to a man. Okay? For a woman, it's, hey, there's something that we're working on that we've got to look at. Okay, make it about we, make it collaborative for women. But yeah, it's like overusing the phrase, I love you. You know, you say that on every conversation, to every friend, to everything. It still means something, but we want things to really have meaning. That's where the linguistic part comes in. Okay? Other question? Yeah, please. Yes? Here's the thing I've learned, if you communicate actually, like if you're selling, so I do a sales training for companies who want to sell stuff to women. And what I tell them is when you learn to talk to the woman in a sale, the men will get it too. So what I recommend, so gay men is, by the way, something I've been studying because I'm having a hard time grasping it as well because it's more of a challenge. However, their brains are still going to go for the provide and protect, even if they're, you know, in a more feminine way. I know Colette talked something about being in the middle. And by the way, women go into masculine mode all the time. Do you ever notice when women have to provide and protect, they go into masculine, get it done, get out of my way, I'm going to get this done mode. That's what costs us with the testosterone. okay, with our adrenal glands. But women will go, by the way, I'm going to come back to your question in a second. Women will go from feminine mode to masculine mode when they have to provide and protect. Do you know that men never go from masculine to feminine? They go from get it done, provide and protect, to don't upset her or don't upset the cart, to inertia. They go from trying to get it done to couch potato. We go from feminine mode of collaborating to, you know what, we're going to get this done, and we go into masculine mode. Men never do that. Gay men, it's a different conversation. Also, you know, this is all the biology stuff. Maybe with him, you talk to him more in his program and find out what's important to him. You know, find out what's important, because he's still playing a game he can win. I mean, all of us in business have gone into that masculine need to win. Find out what game he's winning at, what it looks like for him to win. Hope that helps. Yes? Yes. Yes. Yep, and solve a problem. Yep.
For women who actually do this,
yes.
Scientifically, is there more testosterone after them?
I think that we've created more. My guess is we've created more testosterone. We've gone into the program and we've overridden the instinct. Yeah, but here's the interesting thing, though. Men have been, you know, they go out and they hunt and they shoot and they, you know, they provide. Women are naturally gatherers. Do you ever notice that when we want to make a point with somebody, we tell a story around it? Because we're gathering, instead of gathering berries now, we gather information as our day goes along, right? So at the end of the day, by the way, here's how it works for women. We're gathering information, so we start our morning, and then we go through our afternoon, and this happened, and this happened, and then we had this conversation, then we did this with our kids, and then this happened, and this happened, this happened, and by the end of the day, our basket's totally full. If we want to actually have a meaningful conversation with somebody, what do we have to do first? We have to empty the basket. If we're emptying it to a man in our life, what's he listening for? The point and the problem. Where's the point and the problem? There isn't one. So what I want you to say is, look, I need 5 minutes. I'm going to empty my basket, and then we can, you know, and then we'll get to whatever you want to get to. How's that? So that's kind of really cool. And for women, you can say to a friend, are you just emptying your basket, or do you want my help? Okay, great. Another question, and then we're going to wrap up. Introvert and extrovert, there are a lot of studies on the introvert, extrovert. It's kind of how you show up. They don't really care what's going on inside. In fact, nobody does. I hate to say that, but we're all so concerned with our own stuff. You know what? It's really, okay, I used to start a program going, okay, how many of you guys think you're shy? Raise your hand if you're shy. Raise your hand if you're shy. All right, you raised your hand, you're not that shy, get over it. Right? Seriously, I know that it's hard for some of us to say what it is that we need, but if we don't say it, we're not going to get it. It's sort of like at your birthday. This is the one last thing I'm going to say, is when it's your birthday or when it's your anniversary, men always feel like they're going to lose at that game if they have to figure out what you want. It's a lose for them. Do you know what men's least favorite holiday on the planet? Valentine's Day, because if they get flowers, they're just like every other schmuck. If they get chocolate, we're going to be pissed because they bought us chocolate, right? And if they, right? So they can't win. So what you want to do is say to a man, get to the point, say, you know what I'd really love for my birthday? I'd love either A, B, or C. Make sure all three of them would make you happy, and then they can win no matter what they do. Okay, I want to thank you guys for your time and attention. It's your most valuable asset. Please fill out the form. You don't have to go into depth. If you want to, that would be fabulous. Connect with me on Kiwi Live. Keyword Carolyn, or you can always go to my website. Drop off your yellow form. Pick up your meditation CD, please, with Mindy at the back table. There's a couple if you want to pick up a copy of the book or some other stuff that I've got. That's great. And enjoy the rest of your conference. You guys, the other two speakers are amazing. They're both friends of mine. You'll love them. Thank you.